So, hello everyone. My name is Seyi Obasi, and today I'm here with Emmanuel, who is one of our Naija to Canada Japa students, and he's going to talk about his experience trying to study abroad, as well as his experience with the Naija to Canada Japa system. So, Emmanuel, you're welcome, and we're happy to
Oh,
have
thank
you
you.
with us today.
Thank
Okay,
you
so
so much.
yeah, can you just start by introducing yourself?
All right. My name is Emmanuel. Um, I studied political science in Ekiti State University, and I had my NYSC after my graduation. So I'm from Ondo State. I think that's all. And
That's
now I'm
all.
in England.
Okay. So can
Yeah.
you, yeah, obviously not in Ondo State at this point. So can you tell us where you are, what you're doing there?
Okay, at the moment, I'm in England. So I'm in my master's program studying international politics and extension of political science.
In
So
England. Okay.
yeah, in England. Yeah.
Great. Can you tell us the name of the school?
The University of Hull.
Okay. That is amazing. Okay. So like I said before, Emmanuel started off with our Nigeria to Canada Japa system, and he's currently in the University of Hull doing his master's in international business. Okay, well,
International politics.
in international politics. Okay, so our program is the Niger to Canada Japan system, but you're actually in the UK. So, can you tell us a bit about your encounter with me, and how you were able to transition with the Niger to Canada Japan
All
system
right.
to study in the UK?
All right. Some years ago, um, I had the desire to have an international study experience. So the desire pushed me to go into the internet. Then I began to search. So if you can remember, I texted you on Facebook and I told you that I saw your video on YouTube. So while I was searching the internet, I saw your video. There's a way Google connects people with some online topics, like the heading of your video brought, it's connected to my search somehow. I know you got my
Yeah,
point. So
yeah.
then when I saw the video, I was really, really fascinated. So I had to take your name to Facebook, I texted you and you responded reasonably. So meeting you has really, really been helpful because when I texted you about my desire to move to Canada, you began to tell me about your Japa system. You have a training, you have a book, you have a guide. So, but I was so happy that beyond the guide, you gave me an audience, right? And you told me a lot of things. You guided me. I followed all the instructions. So this leads to another experience. The experience is how I eventually ended up in the UK.
Mhm.
So my goal was to study in Canada. I got the scholarship through your guidance, right? So I wrote my SOP, I sent it to you, you reviewed, and eventually I got the scholarship, right? So the University of Manitoba granted me the scholarship. So along the line, I moved on with the visa application process, and so I had an issue. Should I talk about the issue?
Well, it depends on you.
So along the line, I had an issue, and the issue is premised on proof of funds. So I met every other requirement aside from proof of funds. Although I had a scholarship, it was professionally said that one has to apply with proof of fund. So I looked for someone to help me, and eventually she disappointed. So I had to take a U-turn. Then
Mhm.
I applied the same principles, you know, to the UK. And the only difference is that there was no scholarship. That
Mm.
is just the only difference. But the same principle applies.
Yeah, the same principle applies. Yes, and really that has been the experience of a lot of people who use the Japa system to relocate to study in the US, to study in the UK. The general principle or the basic principle is
Yeah.
still the same. Yeah, it's
Citizen.
just that Canada probably has a few other requirements that maybe all these other countries do not have.
Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, there are a lot of people who are trying to relocate using the study route and they experience all sorts of challenges. Like there are different kinds of challenges people experience. What is one major challenge? Maybe one or two major challenges that you experienced in the entire process of
Um,
study?
I actually had um, one major challenge,
Okay.
and that challenge was the ladder of proof of funds.
Yes.
Right. So I met every other requirement. So my application was competitive. That was why I got the scholarship.
Mhm.
So, but the visa processing doesn't respect your scholarship to some extent.
To some
So
extent, yeah.
to some extent, so the major issue I had was the proof of fund.
Mhm.
So I had the scholarship. Proof of fund was still part of the requirements to apply for a study visa or a study permit. So it was an issue for me because I relied on someone. And I think this issue is not peculiar to me. I've heard people complain about it. So I relied on someone and she led me on. I texted you about everything. I told you about what we really need from her.
Yeah.
And we got the letter for sponsorship letter, affidavit, and every other thing. So at the dying minute, she disappointed. So I think that was my major issue.
Yeah.
Was my major issue.
Yes, yes. And I also wanted to make a comment about that because I know that when you were trying to use her as your sponsor, you sent me all those documents and I told you the things that were needed from her until
Yeah,
we got to a point where she stopped responding because
yeah,
she probably didn't want to send those documents. And
exactly.
that's the thing about using third party sponsors. There's nothing wrong with using sponsors. If it's your mom or your dad or your sister or your auntie, they won't have, I mean, they have your well-being at heart. It won't be difficult for them to bring out all those documents. But
What
when
if
you're
those
using a
ones
third
are not
party,
financially capable?
yes, that's why I'm saying this. So if you're using a third party, sometimes they can disappoint. It's
Yeah,
not just you. It's not just you. I've had other people that will come and say, that person is not responding again. Or they need to move on with other plans. So it does happen. Then sometimes you need to sensitize your sponsor and say, you know what,
yeah,
it's almost like doing a CIA. Some people are
exactly,
uncomfortable. I will be
exactly.
uncomfortable sending my international passport, my PR card, my payslip. It would be difficult if I have to send it to a third party. So that's the
Yeah,
challenge a lot of people are having. However, we thank God that you surmounted those challenges and you are
yeah.
now in England, even though you wanted to be in Canada. But I'm going to make sure that you still come to this Canada. Okay, this is your first point
Yeah,
of
probably for my
yes,
PhD.
yes. So,
Yeah.
but since you've been in England, do you think that the challenges that you experienced in trying to study abroad, do you think that it's worth it? I mean, you've been there for like a few weeks. Do you think it's worth it?
It is.
Mm.
Um, Let me start by saying that whatsoever you invest into your future is not a waste. Whatsoever you
Definitely.
invest into your future is not a waste. So this is my future. Like I said
Mhm.
in my introduction, I had this strong desire to have an international study experience. So which led me to go into the internet and then how I met you. So so I invested my time, my resources, you know, I had to write a lot of statements, a lot of personal statements,
I
you know,
know,
writing financial need essay, a lot of
I
things
know.
just to stay competitive in the application process,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the sacrifices are actually they are relevant. They are never irrelevant. They are
Exactly.
relevant because when I was applying to Canada, I learned a lot in the process. And what I did was to channel that same energy to the
Mm-hmm.
UK application.
Yeah.
It is because of my understanding that the sacrifices are valuable and they are not to be wasted. So I
Yeah.
had to convert that same energy to my UK application when I got the disappointment from that woman.
Yeah.
So it's really, really valuable. It's never a waste. Anything you put into your future, into your education, is never a waste. Never.
Never. I agree with you because I see a lot of people by the time they land in the US, in the UK, in Canada, it's almost like a relief to them. I mean, after all this, I know because I had the same
Mhm.
feeling like after all this wahala, eventually
Exactly.
I am in this land. Is this the Canada or is this the UK? I'm
Exactly.
finally here. It's a feeling of relief. It's a great feeling, actually.
Exactly.
It is. And then and also let me use this opportunity to talk to all those who are a little bit frustrated in their journey. Some people stop and start, and there's nothing wrong with that. I did it too.
Mhm.
I stopped, I started. There were times I would even reach out to Emmanuel by myself, like, I've not heard from this guy for 3 weeks. Emmanuel, what's up? He will now
Hey,
tell me, I'm doing this, so I'm trying to get this. And I'm like encouraging because I know
yeah,
sometimes you need someone to just
to
give you a
talk to.
little push, yes, for you
Yeah,
to get your ginger and to start again. Okay.
yeah,
Um, so there are so many people who want to study in Canada. There are so many people who want to study abroad. It has gotten to a point where anywhere people just want to go.
yeah.
What advice will you give to them? And especially to those set of people who are kind of struggling or struggling in one way or the other, haven't made up their mind or have made up their mind and are facing all this sort of challenges. What advice would you give to them, especially from your own experience with yourself and from your experience with the Naija to Canada Japa system, which is a guide, of course, that can help people, overcome some of these challenges, especially in gray areas where they are like, I don't know what to do.
All
I've
right.
reached like a dead end.
Yeah. All right. The first thing I would like to talk about is having the right mindset.
Yeah.
So, having a right mindset is very, very essential because um, you have to be focused. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be sure of what you want in the first place, and then you go for it. Then the second thing I would talk about is having a teacher or having a guide, because you want to achieve something that other people have achieved and you don't care to talk to them. It doesn't make any sense. So I think one of the most important things is to have a tutor, to have a guide.
Yeah.
So, and this is why it is good to talk to someone like you, and it's why it is good to patronize your brand. So you want to achieve something, you don't just sit in your room and have thoughts of your plans. No, you
Yeah.
you inquire about it, you ask questions. So I was asking questions, I was asking Google brought you.
Exactly.
so so you ask questions and you get answers.
Mm-hmm.
So I advise people who want to have their studies outside their country to have the right mindset and to have a good mentorship.
Yeah.
So you don't make plans in isolation of um, mentorship.
Yeah.
You don't make plans in isolation of mentorship because what you want to achieve is another person's throwback. So if you learn from people, if you learn from guides, and one other thing is don't be too greedy to spend,
Mm.
right? People are
Yeah.
usually too greedy to spend. You are extremely calculative and you just become a mathematician.
Yeah.
So you don't want to buy something of 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people don't want to agree that accurate information is costly.
Yeah.
Accurate information is costly, very, very costly. So if you want it, you go for it. And if you want to
Mm-hmm.
go for it, you must pay. So
Exactly.
it could be money, it could be, I don't know, but you just
It could be
have to.
time.
Life
Yeah.
is about give and take. You have to give something to take it. So along the line, I can't even talk about that
You
here.
can't talk about exactly. Sometimes
So
we don't talk about
you
what
can't,
we have
you can't.
spent and
So
what we have gone
one has
through.
to be one has to be focused.
Mm-hmm.
So being in England is a product of my persistence
Yeah.
and the right mindset.
Yeah.
Right? When the visa processing for Canada disappointed me, I felt bad. Not because I was feeling undermined, or not because I was scared,
Mm-hmm.
but because I got a scholarship.
Yes.
I know what I passed through.
Mm-hmm.
I had sleepless nights writing
Yeah.
essay, making it
Mm-hmm.
competitive. So, nevertheless, I still had to, to channel my energy.
Mm-hmm.
I had a new focus, and then I
Yeah.
achieved it. So it's a product
Um,
of persistence.
yeah.
So, just like I said, one has to have the right mindset, mentorship, persistence, and the give and take mentality. You don't Everything is not free.
Yeah.
Everything is not free. You If you want something, and most likely valuable things are not free. So
Yeah.
I encourage people to have the mindset that whatsoever you invest into your future is not a waste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. And I also want to thank you for being easy to mentor. You take instructions. You became like a brother to me.
Yeah, yeah,
Checking
yeah.
up on you. I was so happy. God Almighty. When
Sincerely.
it finally, I was over the moon. Like, God, please, just I mean, I was happy, and it was really great to mentor you, and I'm so glad that you're there, and I'm glad that we were able to eventually get you to do this interview. You know how I've been chasing
Yeah.
you. Yeah, and I understand how it is to be in a new country, to be
Yeah.
studying and all that. And I'm just praying that this interview will actually encourage somebody who is probably in your
Yeah.
shoes, who has probably experienced a denial. Denial is just a denial. It's just a temporary thing. I always tell
Yeah.
people you can always come back. Personally, I was denied the first time that I did apply to Canada. I was denied a US visa like 2 weeks before I applied to Canada. So it was like, what is this? Like village people were following me. But this was what I wanted. And I prayed, I done the work. I know what you're talking about when you talk about these sleepless nights and working at it. I get it. So our people out there, everyone who is on this Japa journey, um, you have heard Emmanuel's story. You have heard other stories of other people who have actually succeeded at what you're trying to do. And like he said, having the right mindset, having a mentor, tutorship, having guidance, and not being too stingy to
Yeah.
spend the money that you need to get the information and the guidance that you actually need. So Emmanuel, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. I'm so
A
excited
pleasure.
and I'm so happy. And I really pray that this will guide all the people out there. If you want to get our guidance with your studying in Canada plans, there's a link below this video. We're going to put all the information. You can click the link to join the mentorship program. I would also be putting my contact details. Yeah, you can contact me on any of social media on my number to ask all your questions. Thank you very much, Emmanuel, and we
Yeah,
really,
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate you.
You're welcome, man.
All right.